Hello, everybody. I'm Kipp Snow, Director of the Transportation Distribution Logistics Institute at the Community College of Baltimore County.
Hey everyone, I'm Mike Singer, Community Manager for the Baltimore and Chesapeake Bay Shipwatchers, sponsor of this here Two Guys Talking Ship podcast, episode 69.
Yeah.
Our little plan write-up says 66. We're too busy, man. We don't have time to get stuff right.
It does say that, doesn't it? All right.
All right, so it's Hoodie Saturday. Cheers.
Yeah, that's rolling out. I even offered to go and change it, and we just said no. We're today's Hoodie Saturday.
Hoodie Saturday. I like it.
There's a lot going on. You were busy this week. There's a lot of. However, today is Earth Day, so I don't want to go too much further without acknowledging that today is Earth Day. Yes, Earth Day is important to us here in the Port of Baltimore. I know that the Baltimore Port Alliance, the environmental committee, is out at Turner Station today doing the good work there to help the community. So appreciate all of the business partners with the BPA helping with that. Right. I know the Women's Traffic and Transportation Club's got a project today also. So there's a lot of industry groups who are out there, addressing the environmental aspects and the importance of Earth Day. I think there's probably some tie-ins. I know on Thursday was Take Your Kid to Work Day, and so there was a lot of activity in and around the port, Masonville Cove. I saw some of my contacts and colleagues at Maryland Department of Transportation, the headquarters office. They had some activities going on. So that was a lot going on with a lot of cool things.
Cool. Yeah, I was going to say, we know the port does a whole bunch of stuff in the background every day, right? Like you mentioned Masonville. So, over there where, they have that dredge disposal site, but then they took a little chunk of land next to it and made this nature center to teach kids about stuff and have schools going in there and
trash wheels down there.
Yeah, of course. They're always trying to buy new equipment to cut down emissions. And, I was watching a thing on MPT about Poplar Island and how, even though it's a dredge disposal site, it's this wonderful place where wildlife has come in and basically made it home.
Take it over,
supposedly, and I think I'm gonna get this right, we're the first place to do this. To
rebuild the ecosystem,
reestablish some islands, build a disposal site in the middle of the bay, basically, and learn how to invite nature back into this man-made place. So if you're fascinated about Earth Day or you're really into it, I mean, spend a couple of minutes, Google Poplar Island and find some stuff on YouTube or something. You'll be blown away. I couldn't believe it.
Absolutely, yeah.
It was good stuff.
You, I didn't get a chance to go with you guys this year on the Baltimore International Seafarers cruise, but you were able to go and make that trip. How was it?
Yeah, it was great as usual. But let's talk about the positive elephant in the room. You and I, the Baltimore Chesapeake Bay Shipwatchers and Two Guys Talking Ship podcast, bought sponsored tickets, right? So a little bit more money and you get free parking and so that was really cool. It's the first time we had done that. The free parking thing, man.
How did that work out all right?
Josh nailed that one. He basically prepaid for parking spots and in a different garage where they have a nice attendant and, so that was really cool. So,
good. All right.
And the cruise was nice. Food was good. Ran into a bunch of port folks that I knew. Met one of my online ship watcher friends who I've talked to for, I don't know, 2 or 3 years. Her and her family came into this country from Jamaica years ago, and got to meet her for the first time. So that was really cool. Yeah, made some other kind of port contacts. Talked to Bree Gibbs about
the whales.
the whales thing. So, we've seen her at the port meeting several times, and then, I'm running around talking to people, and, and then all of a sudden I look up, oh, I want to talk to Bree. Poof, she's gone. I missed her again. So it was cool to finally make that contact. And of course, the cruise was nice. I really missed David Hartman. He was not there, so there was no narration.
Oh, sure.
And Mike said, I'm just taking the day off, so I didn't do any either. But yeah, the cruise was nice. Weather was practically perfect again. So
Nice.
I wish I had Josh's words right off the top of my head. And once again, the weather has. Remember when he said,
what did he call in a favor? Is that what?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I mean, if you got
so that was nice. It was a good time.
Good.
Ran into Blaze from Vane Brothers.
Yeah. Okay.
Said hi to him. So yeah, it was
all
cool.
right. So overall, again, a good event. Hey, they put on a good event.
Sold out for like the second or third year,
Right
in a row. Because remember, pre-bridge accident, they were having a hard time selling tickets.
Sure.
And then I think the bridge accident kind of rose everyone's visibility. And then they had to go and call in Watermark and like, hey, psst, you guys have another boat? You guys have a bigger boat? And so they went from the Raven to the Catherine Marie, I think. And they've been on the Catherine Marie and selling it out since then. So
nice. Well, it's for good cause. So I mean,
absolutely
that helps them to do all of the good work with all of the vessels coming in and out of the port. So
yeah, 1,000%. So hey, before we get too far in, hey, if you're new to the channel or the podcast, give us a like, subscribe, and hit the bell to be alerted to new podcasts as they come available. Share with your friends or anybody you think might be interested in the port or what goes on in the port, because we are really the only people covering these small details about things that go on the port on a regular basis. The news isn't even covering everything that we cover. So it really is a great source for details of what's going on at the port.
And I appreciate everybody going and helping us to provide some of this information, let us know what's going on. We have a website now. It's www.twoguystalkingship.com. Right now there's a placeholder on it, but we're going to start working on trying to get some of this information that we've been reporting on up on the website so that you can actually go to it and take a look at it. And have that tie in with the Shipwatchers who's been supporting us with this endeavor. So,
yeah.
All right. Do you want to get into some of the shipping updates?
Yeah, let's do it. So in keeping with up to date with Seagirt trends, let's look at trackable metrics. Ease for me to say. That the Port of Baltimore uses and publicize truck transactions. So I'm going to roll through it. We got about 9 weeks here. I'm going to just roll through them. So what we're talking about is we take a look. We total up the week and then divide it by the days of the week. So you come up with a daily average for that week. So last 9 weeks, 3,860, 3,416, 3,475, 3,605, 3,786, 3,454, 3,550, 3,473, 3,505. And so what do you think that averages out to? I ran the numbers.
There's probably something about the 3,500 mark is what I'm guessing.
Ironically, this is podcast number 69, and the average is 3,569 for those.
Oh, okay. I see what you did there.
Hey, the math did it. The math did it. I didn't do it. So that's the average of those 9 weeks, and it sure sounded like 3,500 something when I was
Sure.
reading them off. Dude, this is cool.
These are some strong numbers. Now,
And so
if you
let's
take a
see. 26 is in red, so we can
correct,
see 26 is, but then they were higher back in, and so these are like the first weeks of the year, right? That's what this means.
correct. So
So we can
this
see,
is week. If we start on week 1 of the calendar year, and that's around the July 1 time frame, and you have to take a look at
Jan
the
1.
business week, associated with that. But the red on the dark red on this chart is the 2026. The blue is 2025. And if you just take a look at these past couple of weeks, the 26 numbers are trending a little bit lower than the 25s. However, it seems to be pretty sustainable, though. I mean, it's a you don't see a lot of fluctuation. So I'm looking at
Right.
that being pretty strong, strong average numbers without
Right.
that fluctuation.
Right. And I'm
But
glad that we finally have this, because remember when we were talking about, I don't know, 15, 20 episodes ago, we were saying, gee, wouldn't it be nice if we could kind of see what's happening? And now we can kind of see what's happening. And I really appreciate you putting this together. Wow.
Yeah.
So look at that left column and look at that dropout.
So if
at
you look,
the end of it.
you kind of look at things here,
Right.
right? You kind of look at things here and go, 2024 had some really, really strong numbers. We were on track to be doing some really amazing
Wow.
things, and then this happened here.
Yeah.
And as I was going through the numbers, I was like, why are the numbers so?
Wait a minute,
Oh,
what?
it's the bridge. Okay.
2 years in,
Yeah.
and if you're not looking at it and you're looking at just numbers or graphs, your mind can come off of what happened 2 years ago.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah, and this is really neat to be able to see the impact from actual metrics or from a graphical perspective. That really does tell a story.
Absolutely. Yep. That's a great visual, man. I really appreciate you putting that
Yeah,
together.
sure. Well, we talked. Mike and I talked a little bit about this, and in order to in order to try to show some more of what some of these trends are, we do have data back to 2018, I believe, and then so we're going to kind of break this up into rolling quarters or what have you, in order to try to show some of the stories and what some of the actual metrics are related to the business transactions.
Yeah, quarter sounds good because, right, if you're at 17 now, and if you just kept going 20, 23, and then you wouldn't really be able to see what's going on. So I think quarters sounds good. Good plan.
Yep. All right. All right. So we have a lot of things that have happened. So why don't we go ahead and get into this? You had some breaking news that you sent to me this morning.
Yeah.
And
So not anything tragic or anything, or no emergencies, but just like breaking news, because this stuff is like today while we're recording, right? So let's start off with an anniversary. This is a post from Facebook. As we begin our 105th year of making sugar in Baltimore, today marks the 75th anniversary of our Domino Sugar sign. So that's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. So it's such an iconic image
Exactly.
in our city.
Yep.
And I know recently they went through. This is a really neat shot because I've stood on this very site on this floor in front of the
both
sign.
have. Yep.
But to see it happen from many, many, many years ago is really cool. I think
is.
that's the. Is that?
And that's like a nighttime shot, man. That's
yeah, well,
pretty neat.
he's cutting the power on. So I'm curious what the story is with this one.
Oh, maybe that was them turning it on for the first time.
It may have been.
Flipping the big old switch, flipping the big breaker for the first time. Oh, that. See, they didn't exactly elaborate on that, but that might be exactly what that is. That's kind of cool to think about.
And that's the old neon sign. Now they've
Right.
got the new LED sign that's that's
Yep,
up there.
which was done, and remember how much we talked about that, and people were like, are you really going to be able to, is it really going to have the same brightness? Is it really going to be the same color? Is it really going to look the same? And
I can't tell the difference.
local Gable Sign Company, who is 5 minutes from my house, man, they nailed it.
Sure, absolutely.
They nailed it. It looks great. Yeah, these are some cool
My friend
shots.
Alicia got this picture also for us.
Yeah, cool
with
stuff.
with the reflection there. So kudos to Domino Sugar there, continuing to be a huge staple in the Port of Baltimore.
Yep, I mean, it's a business, right? And so if they didn't have what they needed here, I'm sure that because like they have closed down a few other factories. I think they closed down New York, right?
Yeah, they just closed Yonkers down. That's correct.
Right, and they're this
And
giant conglomerate of American sugar refinery, right? So, like, didn't we do a little thing like where you can pull up like the ASR, and then there's like 9 companies under it,
yeah,
and
yeah,
it's a monster. Um, but I still appreciate their commitment to the city. Ever since 1921.
right.
And the federally maintained channel of the Baltimore Harbor like ends right there. Right? That's as far as ships need to go, for commerce.
Right.
And that federal channel ends right there in front of Domino Sugar. I think 35 or 38 feet. Something like that. Yeah. So another thing going on today, a special cruise ship visit. So the Artania docked in Baltimore this morning. Phoenix Rising's Artania is in port for a day, 8 this morning till 6 o'clock at night. It's part of her world cruise from Italy in January on her way to New York and then back to Bremerhaven. Known as a classic vessel built in 19... shout out to Chuck on the camera chat for grabbing this info for us.
Sure.
Known as a classic vessel built in 1984, formerly the Royal Princess. Now, when you look at the structure in the front and you look at the structure in the back where the exhaust, you see that rounded kind of... I mean, that says Royal Caribbean.
It does.
You can tell it's got the design. Before I even read this, you can just see it.
Sure.
Formerly the Royal Princess, the 1,260 passenger ship features all outside cabins, that's interesting.
Wow.
And offers a traditional cruising experience. Typically on this cruise, she has all German passengers.
Interesting.
And this is from a friend of mine who has German heritage and kind of follows all that stuff. Shout out Cornelia. Yeah, and so she was in Norfolk, and then she goes on to New York.
Oh, okay. So we're one of the stops there. Mm-hmm. Excellent.
So hopefully, we'll be able to see her on camera coming out this evening. So that would be cool.
Absolutely. This was a neat shot of her going through the Key Bridge site.
Yes. Now let's take a look at. I mean, so the large crane on the left is putting in production pile, and man, we should talk about that because, they had this template. I don't know if you remember this. They had a template. It was probably like 4 or 5 stories tall. This steel structure that they would put, these giant piles in to kind of, mark them, so they're always the same distance apart, right? And then they started making a whole bunch more of these structures, and they brought them out. And now they drove yesterday and the day before, they had 5 pilings standing up, and they drove them down. And then I think they're going to take the whole structure and move it.
Okay.
Drive another 5, right? So for the 600-foot towers, main towers for the span of the bridge, that pier underneath is 5x9, 5 rows of 9 or 9 rows of 5 of these giant 8-foot diameter, 2-inch thick, 200-foot long pilings. So that 9x5 pattern of the pilings under the main pier, that's about the size of a basketball court, right? And then the ship protection outside of that is the size of a football field. 20 feet thick of concrete. Anyway, I digress. So these cranes that you can see in the foreground, I think they're working on production pile also. But if you look to the right of the rightmost crane, you can see those smaller pilings. That's how far the trestle has reached. The trestle pilings. I mean, they're really making.
They're making significant progress there, and that's pretty evident in this particular picture. So and then they the vessels and everything can still be transient this space.
Oh, absolutely.
Even while they're doing all of the work and everything.
Yeah, so. Because they're doing this work at the new width, right? So
gotcha.
The old width was, the inside of those A piers, right? The inside edge of those two was like 1,100, right? These new towers are out at 1,660 feet, right? So there's plenty of room
plenty of space to
roll the ships through at the original channel width of 700 feet.
Sure. Also in the port, in our last episode, in our anchor alert, we had some breaking news about a tug that had sunk, and this was the Gale.
Yeah, so
we actually have some. So we have some more pictures of that.
Yeah, we wanted to follow up and actually show her, and it was only like the next day, where I think they had 2 or 3 cranes in there that evening.
Yeah.
And the next day she was coming back out of the water. So that's a cool. And just to have basically McLean's home is right there in Curtis Bay, So if you go across the Pennington Avenue Bridge or the 695 Bridge, which are like right next to each other, right, with matching drawbridges so the Coast Guard boats can get into the Coast Guard yard there. I mean, right there's always. You can't even count how many cranes are there because you're trying to drive your car, right? So they have all this equipment right there, and then here, let me go to my closet and get my shoes. Let me, less than a quarter mile away, they have all this equipment to do this work, and it's their tug. So it's interesting how that all works out, and you can really see what's going on here.
Sure. In this picture, it was interesting. You could clearly see the berm that was put up to contain everything.
Wow.
Be able to see some close-up shots, right up against.
And what fascinates me are, because there's from when the Key Bridge went down, right? And then all of a sudden, 40 and 50 divers that you don't even know exist come out of the woodwork in the middle of the night, ready to go to do their job. Right? It just fascinating. And so how in the ham sandwich do you dive under something like this that's already hit something? So there's stuff underneath. It's basically, impaled, and something has a hole in the bottom of it. And how do you safely dive under there and put these straps and lift this thing? Just the logistics of that kind of blows me away.
Not only is it, hey, you've got to learn how to scuba dive, but also in very dangerous environments, and then how do you go and deal with the search and rescue operation aspect of it?
Right.
On top of having all this equipment on and being in a non-traditional environment.
Right. And I grew up here my whole life. Kipp is a transplant, but we love the bay. Okay, we love the bay. but it's not like the Bahamas where you can see down 10 feet, right?
Right.
If you're lucky, you can see 2, maybe 3 feet. And so visibility is not easy, but anyway, so look at this. There she is, practically floating again. Amazing work. I wish I knew, excuse me, I wish I had an update as to what's going on with the tug, but yeah,
This
these
is
are great shots.
you know,
And this is our friend Mark Hergen. Shout out to Mark Hergen, Dead Rise Marine Photography. I mean,
yeah. This in this shot's interesting. You know, they've got all their electronic survey equipment and everything right on the boat, and right there engaged with trying to get everything working.
Right.
Some more nighttime shots of it.
Is that the? Oh, that's the Gale on the right. Oh, okay.
Yep.
Wow. Some
you
incredible.
See the cable lifts that they tied to it with the crane to bring it up.
Wow. And like I've talked about before, like, at NASA, every one of those rings, every one of those hooks, every one of those straps, right, is marked with a proof test, load, a date of certification, right? I mean, you're not lifting something up like this unless your equipment can do it.
Right.
Right? So, wow.
No room for mistakes or errors.
Right. You don't want to be lifting this thing, something fail, and then something even more tragic happens. I don't know.
Right.
Wow. Yeah, that's our buddy Mark, man. He takes some incredible photographs.
So just a couple of extra other shots that the general public may not have been able to see and take a look at, but really kind of gives a perspective of the heavy lift and the work that had to be done just to refloat this thing and get it back up and running. So
absolutely.
There you go.
Very cool.
All right, so that was just some extra pictures from that incident, and everybody's working forward to resolving it. Also, kind of a breaking news this week, or the press release coming out that we were kind of a little shocked about. We didn't really expect this one to come through, but there is a new 4-acre grain transloading facility at Seagirt Marine Terminal. Now you say, wait a second. They're a container terminal. How does this work?
Right. And why would they be taking up precious container space, right? It's just on the surface, this guy talking ship didn't know what was going on. I couldn't kind of make sense of it. But then when we see where it is and we figure it out, then it made a lot more sense.
It made a lot of sense. Here's a video that the Maryland Port Administration put out.
All right, cool.
This new facility will add a layer of efficiency to our operation to allow the Maryland farmers to bring their export products to the port and allow our team to stuff that commodity into containers for the international marketplace.
All of that collaboration was necessary in order to be able to pull this project off. That's the type of collaboration that we need to be able to develop the infrastructure necessary to be able to support Maryland's farmers, to be able to support Maryland's producers.
Our farmers are going to grow tons and tons and bushels of product every year, and they need the certainty that they've got a place to market and sell it. And this answers the question, who's going to take it, who's going to market it, and it opens up international opportunities for more of our farmers in the state.
Our relationship with the Port of Baltimore and the greater Baltimore area has been extremely strong over the last 7 years of Frey's history. The relationship with Ports America Chesapeake over the last 3 or 4 years of us discussing on how we can potentially create this project and bring this vision into reality has been extremely strong. The dynamic has been extremely cooperative and comprehensive. And we're just really excited to be able to be here today breaking ground, and are really excited for the future.
All right, so that's
cool.
that was some of the sound bites from some of the different officials at the ceremony, but you and I were both trying to figure out where this thing was at, and
Right.
this picture really helps to kind of give that perspective.
Right.
This is your double stack rail line right here. You can see
Yep.
that they're they're already doing the transloading here. This grain loading facility is also adjacent to a rail line, so you can see that. So that that's some of the connectivity there. And then they're going to build out this this terminal operation here for the transload.
Yeah, and it's I think it's 3 different silos for 3 different materials, right? For 3 soybeans, corn, and wheat. I think that's what it might. I know it's 3 silos.
Okay.
And then, when you look at this, you can kind of go, oh. And then, like, if you were to look at like a Google Earth map of the terminal, you can kind of see that, oh, there's this kind of a little slice, that wasn't being used. So that's a great thing. They had this need, and who would have thought it would wind up at Seagirt,
Right.
But they are talking about for packaging these commodities into, let's do that. That'd be cool. Yeah, so right there, that kind of lacrosse stick kind of green. Yeah, move down. Yeah, that whole. Yeah.
Right in.
Yep.
Right in this area.
Yep. So it looks like it wasn't even used at one point, right? So you take some real estate that was, it's packed in by a road and a rail line, it looks like, and not even used, and you make it useful for, another commodity. So
this is a ground up investment. This isn't like Seagirt just added another.
They went and bought some land from somebody and.
Right, or just added an extra customer to a shipping line to the business. This is, hey, we had a patch of grass that we weren't doing anything with, and we invested. Now this is just going to be extra revenue and transactions through the port.
Yeah,
that we didn't have before.
Yeah, and I was wondering about that. Did this not exist before, or was it at a smaller level? I think it was at a smaller level. And it took them longer to pack it into containers, and this brings up efficiency and certainly volume.
Sure.
So that's really cool. Yeah, we were kind of floored by this, weren't we?
But glad to have it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's kind of neat when there's 2 guys talking ship, you and I, and we, live and breathe this stuff, for lack of a better term, and we're always kind of paying attention to news stories and what's happening with the port, and then you get a surprise.
Right.
I had no idea it was happening, so
no clue. Yeah.
Kind of cool.
All right. Back at the end of March, this has been several weeks now. The Governor Moore had mentioned a Maryland Port Administration press release on some of the metrics, the cargo metrics from 2025, and we kind of bullet pointed the highlights from this that's has importance to what really took place during that particular calendar year. Some of the points that that were mentioned here were that the port handled about 50 million tons of cargo through both its private and public terminals, because we have both. We have publicly run terminals and we have privately owned and operated terminals. The cargo that was handled last year had a value of about $65 billion, which is the third highest value in the port's history. And about 887,000 tons of roll-on and roll-off farm equipment and construction equipment, which is a 6% increase among other ports. Now, what I've also we've had some discussions about ro-ro operations here in the port, and that for the cars we're now number 2 against Brunswick, Georgia, and so there's and primarily
You're going to mess up my whole day, man.
Oh, yeah, well. Well, primarily it was like you had a response to the Key Bridge incident, and some of that business had to go, elsewhere, and so
Sure.
Naturally or ultimately you're going to have to figure out how to bring that back here. But from the construction and farm equipment perspective, we're still number 1. So there, we really do specialize in that handling of the big equipment. And the Steamship Trade Association handles the Ro-Ro Rodeo with the Port of Baltimore every year, so that all of the longshoremen can come and be trained on that equipment. So that's why we are there and still strong, because of all of that training and effort to maintain that. So, so it's not just roll on, roll off. We're handling, the forest products, and which is your paper products, your pulp wood, your rolled paper. We're first among all of the ports in the U.S. at 1.1 million tons. If I could
just put a teeny bit of damper on that, right? And so that's a claim, and that's true, right? But a huge chunk of that came in on the Spleethoff ships, those brown ice-class Spleethoff ships from Europe, just left and went to Philly.
And we talked about that on the...
Yeah, so that's a bummer, but...
So we also finished second for exported coal, imported aluminum, gypsum, salt, and sugar. And so overall, we finished about 10th among U.S. ports for foreign cargo. It's about $65 billion, and 11th in foreign cargo tonnage. And it's important to really talk about the value and the tonnage, because you can bring in a whole bunch of low-value products that may not seem like it's a lot, but that's still an important metric to be able to.
That's a good
address.
point. I didn't really think about how some of, especially when you're talking about, this bulk stuff that's, comes in bulkers or goes out in bulkers. It's heavy, but how much value does it have? So
Correct.
It's important to talk about the two different metrics, the weight, volume, and the money. And for me, I have a soft spot for that second, the last line there. Second for exported coal and imported aluminum, gypsum, salt, and sugar. So, we see a lot of that coming and going from here. We have 2 coal terminals, so anywhere from 3 to 6 ships a week go out of here full of coal. We've got Domino Sugar, who's, constantly importing sugar. We have 2 different operations here that store and sell and distribute salt. Like, think about, so I've been doing this for 9 years. Just, running the Shipwatchers. I probably didn't know that we were like a East Coast supplier of salt. I thought, we're just holding on to that stuff for when we need it.
Right.
I had no idea we were selling it and distributing it.
And it's not just for salt for the roads. That same salt is used for water softening systems and other salt applications. Also, within the past couple of weeks, there was an announcement with the Neoliner Origin, and they signed an agreement with CMA CGM, making...
That's a mega mother of, cargo transport, big shipping company.
Right, so that's going to increase some of the opportunities for vessel operations for Neoliner to be able to make that transatlantic trip to Baltimore from France.
Yeah,
the new
and now
service
that you have this, I guess you would call it a proof of concept, right? But okay, now that you spent how many millions of dollars do you remember? I don't remember. How many millions of dollars you spent to make this proof of concept ship? It's nice to find a partner that's willing to ship, on your boat, so that hey, let's make some money while we're doing this. I mean, they were already on a circuit. They were already bringing stuff to Baltimore anyway, right? But I would imagine this would open up their possibilities a lot to get more customers shipping things on that boat.
Right. This agreement gives them direct access to all of their customers' networks, which would increase the amount of potential volume that vessel can carry. And then also their customers will be able to use their kind of route network that may not have had access to before. And so they'll be able to do round trips from France to Baltimore and Halifax up in Canada. And that vessel can actually cover or carry many different commodities, including dry, out of gauge, non-traditional sizes.
Right.
They can handle refrigerated units, the reefers. So they do have some extra capabilities with that vessel. The first scheduled trip under that agreement will be yesterday, actually, April 24th. It was supposed to.
They might be a little late on that, but unless I missed it, which could have happened.
Okay. So that's exciting news to see something start from the ground up, be implemented, actually work out, and then now they're starting to get into some mainstream operations.
Yeah, that is really cool. Great point.
While you were gone, on your still don't understand how you got approved for paid PTO time off from the podcast, but
hey, I got it like that, man. What can I say?
We did have I did speak at a conference, and one of the gifts that was provided to me I thought was quite interesting, and I have it here.
Well, let's see it.
Is John W. Brown coffee.
There.
Look at this.
Look at that.
This was in my little goodie bag for speaking, and this is the Salty Sailor Coffee Company, who does they're local here in Baltimore, and they're selling John W. Brown coffee. So I thought that I would bring up their website and explain this a little bit. So the Salty Sailor Coffee Company has been making some blends under the Liberty Roast, which got the
name of the blend.
Yeah, the right name of the blend there. Looks like that they have several different kinds of flavors. It looks like they got some dark roast, decaf, and they also have tea.
Right. So if you're a fan of Big Bang Theory and you have a friend who's having a bad day, can I get you a tea? Right. So
there you go.
That's what Sheldon is always doing.
There you go. So if you're interested if you like coffee and you're interested in supporting the Liberty ship John W. Brown, go to the Salty Sailor Coffee website at saltysailorcoffee.com.
Yeah.
And you can select your own roast of coffee or tea blends.
Yeah.
And the proceeds from that go to support the John W. Brown directly.
Very
as a
cool.
fundraiser.
Very cool. You can buy yourself some Liberty.
Yeah. There you go.
I'll be here all week.
That's right.
Back to the Neoliner Origin. I pulled it up on Marine Traffic. She's due into Newfoundland on the 30th.
Okay.
So,
on our way.
Yeah. So I wished I knew. We'll have that down at some point. Like, okay, they're in Newfoundland. Does that mean they're in Baltimore like a week later, or?
I think we can look that up. They've actually got some of their route schedules published, and you can figure that part of it
And
out.
I'm more of a real time guy. I know a lot of folks will go out and research the shipping company and find their routes and find their schedules. Off in the distance, for the future. So that's great. That's there. I always forget to look at that for some reason.
All right. Why don't we take a look at what's happening with the Key Bridge site? I know we've got a video and a couple of pictures with some recent updates.
Yeah, great. Let's do it. Yeah, there is an awful lot going on out there. Like I said before, they have these new templates where they can put in 5 of those giant production piles, in a row at a time. They just brought in another monster crane this week. It's over at Trade Point Atlantic. I guess they're prepping it for the job that it's going to do. But yeah, awful lot going on. They're doing the production piles out at the 2 main piers, 25 and 26, 24 and 25. And then, in this view, you can see the smaller piles, and that's for the access trestle that we keep, the temporary access trestle that we keep talking about. And by temporary, I mean it's going to be there for 2 years and then it's gone.
Right.
They said it's going to take them a year to build it. Right? So that you can drive equipment, trucks, cement, supplies all the way out to the channel and, build these, huge piers that you need for the bridge.
Right. All right, here's a video from our friends at Key Bridge Rebuild, and I think it may be Jim Harkness talking on here.
Oh, okay, cool.
We're standing here on span 76, so this is the biggest span that we have on the trestle. So either side of the river, we have about a quarter mile of this temporary access bridge that we're building that'll safely get our equipment and materials out to build the bridge while keeping shipping going. While we're getting our piles in for piers 24 and 25, we're out here getting the access set up, so we're ahead of the curve. By building a bridge like this, we eliminate the weather hazard, tens of thousands of tons of steel, almost 1,400 crane mats that we're setting. So logistically, it's pretty exciting to see what the team put together and how they can get it so quickly to be somewhat home and working on a bridge that is just of national importance. It's pretty cool. You get that kind of intrinsic feeling like, hey, I'm doing something that matters.
All right, so that was neat to be able to see the where they're at. It wasn't Jim; it was one of the Kiewit engineers who was speaking on that part of it. But you can still hear the excitement around what they're trying to accomplish versus having to go and do everything manually or this is going to provide a significant amount of support with making sure that bridge is that you don't have some of the problems that you would expect, like weather. Just even with the Key Bridge incident and some of the weather issues with trying to get the thing removed, that's kind of that focal point that I think that they're also trying to address.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, it certainly makes sense, but I really hadn't thought about. Well, I thought about, imagine how many barges you would need. And how many tugs you would need to move the barges. And then, okay, so the barges are anchored or spudded down, right? And then how many tugboats do you have that have to constantly keep going back and forth and bringing out more supplies? So the marine quotient of how much equipment you would need to constantly keep this supply moving, I thought about, but I didn't think about that, hey, if we could just drive out there, we don't have to worry about weather as much. That's a good point.
Right. So this graphic, this kind of helps to explain what this temporary trestle is going to look like, and it's designed to fit around all of the construction points for the actual bridge.
Yeah.
So you can understand why it would need to be removed because the bridge is going to have its footprint there. But having the ease of being able to drive out to the actual location of the actual point of that project is just mind-blowing to me that you're able to go do this.
Right. Yeah, and I think there are videos of other bridge projects with other temporary trestles, they've got like sped up real time kind of thing, and you can watch them put it in, watch them build a bridge, and watch them take it all out in like 2 minutes or something. There's some cool videos out there of where they've done this exact thing in other places. So this is funny. So you see that little barge, that little brown barge.
Yeah.
And it might even say Poseidon on it. I don't know. But like every time I see that, because we're always watching this stuff on the live stream camera. And every time I see that, I think it looks like a box of burger cookies floating there from
Okay. All right, I give you that.
3 or 4 miles away.
That's funny.
Yeah.
These are just some shots that we picked up on of some of the construction work taking place over the past couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
This was an overhead shot that I thought was helpful to kind of look at how some of the alignment was going with the trestle.
Yeah, and this is interesting. So this is the southern side or the western side. So where Kipp and I live, we live on this side of the harbor. And it's interesting. It looks like they're going out at a right angle and making kind of like a sharp turn there to go across the water. Whereas on the other side, they kind of came right off the land and made more of a gradual curve. Mm-hmm. And so that would be interesting to learn, the decisions that went into,
Sure.
Why does this look so much different? Yeah, so see, here's the other side, and it just kind of comes straight off the causeway there. And what else is... Yeah, these are some nice shots. Okay, now look at the top of this picture. They're driving those production piles. Do you see the foam or the bubbles on the water?
Yeah, right here.
So that's that noise suppression bubble system, right? So I think that's what that is going on, and this is really cool to be able to see, those trestle piles lined up. You can see where they're headed.
All right, so that was some updates on the bridge from the past couple of weeks.
Yeah, so it'd be really cool to see them activate. So remember when we were out on the Avalon on the dredge?
Yes.
Right, and they had like the crane part, and then they had like the superstructure part where, where the crew quarters were and everything. So this new crane that they brought in, and I can't keep the number straight. The people, my friends who hang out in the camera chat, can run circles around me for keeping all these weeks crane numbers straight. 531, 513, 511. I can't. 530. I can't do it. But so they brought in this new crane, new to us crane. That's one more thing that we could add. There was a whole video about everything that they went through to bring this crane to Baltimore.
Oh, okay.
Because it had been sitting for like 2 years, and they had to refurb it. They added like another 40 foot on the boom. Did all this work. But it's on a giant barge. Sort of reminds you of the Avalon, except it's way longer. So on one end of the barge is the giant crane. On the other end of the barge is kind of like crew housing structure, superstructure.
Right.
Right? So I think this is the first crane here that we've seen like that. So it'll be interesting to see that get out there and get working. And I think that's when the production pile will really speed up. And it's kind of cool because we got 2 barges sitting out there So there's, I don't know, 25 piles just sitting out there waiting to be used. So I imagine when, we'll have one crane at Pier 25, some cranes at Pier 24, and they'll both be driving those giant production piles at the same time and really speed this process up. That'll be cool.
Interesting. Okay. All right. Finally, the Carnival Pride is back from dry dock.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the reason why we're chatting about this is that there was a question that came up through a viewer?
One of the people in one of the Carnival Facebook groups. So people were like, "Oh, Carnival's back. How come they left late that day?" And then so there were a bunch of people commenting, and people were talking about, "Oh, you have to get you have to get the contractors off. The crew hasn't been on board. They have to get back on board. There's like some recertifications or custom work or something that has to go into it because it's coming from a foreign port and it wasn't hauling passengers, so it wasn't working and it didn't have a crew on it. The things that triggers take longer than the normal turnaround time, and so I sent Kipp down the rabbit hole to see if he could find, hey, is there truth to this? Is it really different? And I think you probably came up with some stuff.
Yeah, here's a couple of points, and I did do a little bit of research on this. Cruise ships returning to service from dry dock do have to go through a rigorous list of mandatory inspections by the CDC for sanitation and health. Port state control for safety and technical related aspects, just to make sure that the vessel is seaworthy and it adheres to our public health standards.
Sure.
They also have to go through a vessel sanitation program where the CDC staff checks for cleanliness on water systems and pools and spas and food storage, and have inspections related to it. The port state control looks at making sure that there's compliance to international and local maritime regulations, and so that could be state, local, national. That could be Coast Guard. That could be any of the other agencies that are involved. And then there's structural and technical inspections by the Coast Guard or maybe some other classifying society bodies of inspectors. Maybe it's electrical or mechanical or nautical or something of that. And so they will inspect things like the hull and the bottom of the vessel, the sides, appendages, things that stick from it, to make sure that all the maintenance is taken care of. And then there's crew and equipment testing, and so they have to go and test things like lifeboats and water pumps and emergency generators, and operational equipment. So that there are things that do get inspected to make sure that everything is correct. If there's any last minute repairs that need to be made or adjustments, they want to make sure that vessel is ready to go prior to passengers coming on. So
interesting, and I like this last.
The suggested message. It is generally advised that passengers avoid the very first cruise immediately following a dry dock, as inspections reveal necessary last-minute repairs that may be lingering work.
And in my head, I'm thinking, well, why wouldn't they finish the ship, and why wouldn't it be? And but I think we've all seen things in our work life where somebody was supposed to do something and they didn't, or maybe they didn't do it the right way, or maybe they forgot or left something somewhere. And now the Carnival Pride, we love her because she's our ship. She comes to Baltimore every week, but I mean, this isn't even a big ship. I mean, can you imagine if they're looking at a ship twice this size and doing all this work. So this is really cool because I didn't know about any of this stuff.
Sure.
And I think she did come in a day early to allow for this, but then wound up going out a little late that next day, a little later than normal. Yeah, so I think there were mostly like cosmetic things that they did. You know, some things that Carnival wanted to change out. Maybe a bar is different, or maybe the casino was larger or smaller. We did have that. At some point, that list of everything that they did. Maybe we'll cover that on the next podcast.
Okay. All right, so that's all the big news things in our current events or upcoming events that we have going here. On Thursday, April the 30th, that's coming up this week on my campus at the Community College of Baltimore County in Dundalk. We are hosting the Baltimore Port Alliance's Hiring and Career Expo. We're expecting around 40 to 45 companies to be in attendance who are actively seeking job seekers, employees for the maritime industry. So between 10:30 and 1:30 on Thursday on campus, and you'll be able to talk directly with some of these hiring employers and maybe have an opportunity there.
Right. So last few years, it's been what, 300 to 400 attendees?
Yeah, last year we had 350 job seekers who came in through the door.
Wow.
So this has turned out into a pretty big event. So we're excited about that. That's this week, this Thursday coming up. Also, on Thursday, April the 30th, if you've watched some of the postings on this, the time's changed a little bit. Trade Point Atlantic is having their spring community open house. This will be on Facebook Live at 1 p.m. And so if you want to listen to what's happening within the property and get some updates, you're going to see that opportunity to hear our friends there to talk about those what the current state is of Trade Point Atlantic.
So do we want to reveal our secret or just keep going?
There's a secret coming in our next edition of the Anchor Alert about Trade Point Atlantic. Please listen out to episode 70. How about that?
There you go. All right, sounds good.
It's out there. On Tuesday, May the 12th, down at the cruise terminal, the Maryland Port Administration hosts the Federal Maritime Industry Day. So if you're in industry and you want to know what's happening with all of our federal agency partners, they're going to come and provide an update to everybody who attends. So that's always a good thing. I've learned quite a bit as to the different kinds of transactions that the port is involved with all of our federal partners. So that's coming up, and then also this is our next big event is National Maritime Day, May 17th. This is Sunday, May 17th, out at Pier 13 in Canton.
Right,
you'll be able to tour both the nuclear ship Savannah and the John W. Brown.
Right. And
then 11:30 aboard, there'll be a commemoration of the of merchant marines and the workforce within the maritime industry with wreath laying and so a lot of different salutes.
Like honoring the folks who have been lost on the job, like within the last year, right? Is that one of the things?
Correct. Those are the types of honorings that they focus on.
Yeah, so and the ship watchers will have our tent out there right alongside the John Brown, so feel free to stop by and say hi. And this will be probably the last time that the last time that Maritime Day that the Savannah will be on this pier.
Yeah. That's correct.
We're not really sure what's going to happen, but her being on that pier is all tied to, the denuclearization of the ship, for lack of a better term. That's not the right term. send me a nasty gram email and tell me.
I'm sure Bob will explain it to you.
As many years as we've been talking about this ship, and I still can't get that term right. Anyway, but that's all based on the federal government getting the nuclear components out of the ship. It being at that pier is paid for by the federal government, which ends the end of this calendar year, right?
Yeah,
so
December.
And there is a company that owns that pier that does important port work, importing gypsum, for people to work in a factory and make wallboard or drywall. If the ship isn't paying rent for the pier, it's not going to be there, right?
Right.
So there may be other opportunities to see it, but this will probably be the last maritime day that she will be there. So if
we will,
I don't want to hear any regrets. I don't want to hear any regrets. Clear your calendar, get your butts down there, and check it out.
That's right. If you can't, we will broadcast the commemoration ceremony live starting at 11:30 on YouTube. So we'll take a look out for the link for that.
Oh yeah, right. Sounds good.
Also, right after that, down in Annapolis is going to be the Blue Angel show tied to the Naval Academy graduation. The John W. Brown is actually going to have a day event where you can pay to be on the vessel and see the air show down in Annapolis. So if you're interested in taking a trip on a steamship to go see the Blue Angels, this might be an excellent opportunity for that.
Yeah,
and you can go to their website here and take a look at the ticket offerings.
Yeah, I think this is the first time they're doing this, and I just think this is such a great idea.
Really neat opportunity to be close up and not have to worry too much about the traffic in Annapolis.
Right, and you'll be closer, in height wise, to the planes and everybody else because you're going to be on this big ship relatively, rather than being on, a small boat. But this is cool. It does say it includes lunch and afternoon snacks. So I didn't know it included food. That's the first time I'm seeing that. I'm this many years old when I found that out. So that's really cool because I was wondering how that would all work. Am I bringing a cooler and so that's nice. Great and and Kipp and I have been on board before. Remember when we brought the Brown out of drydock from Norfolk? They do have good food on board.
It was good eats. That's absolutely correct.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, and then finally, this is coming up May 21st. This is an opportunity to engage with the Constellation with historic ships, and this is historic sips on historic ships. And so it looks like there is
pull that off without messing it up.
Yeah, I know, right? I practiced that one. So they have some cocktails, cash bar, light fare, and then an opening cannon firing, and then a guided tour. So if you're interested in a specialized little event with the Constellation,
very cool.
Take a look at that.
Man, that's a busy week. I mean, if we, if people who love maritime and love the port, I mean, if you did all that, you're gonna that's a busy week, man.
Right?
That is a lot happening.
So if plenty of things to go see and do, and so try to go out and do something.
Yeah, sounds good. Sounds good.
All right, that's all I've got for this week.
Yep. Hey, so just a reminder, as Baltimore and Chesapeake Bay Shipwatchers, we are all over socials. We got a Facebook group with 16,000 people who are fascinated with what goes on here at the port. We've got a website full of information, links to the live stream camera, to this podcast. We've got some swag for sale, like these cool performance hoodies that I have on, that has this really cool Keybridge logo on the back of it, right? So these comes in all different colors. We've got all kinds of stuff on there. T-shirts, wine glasses, drink glasses, coffee cups, 5 and 6 different kinds of hats, regular sweatshirt hoodies like Kipp has on, but it doesn't say Ron John. It says this on it. So if you'd like, that's one way you can support the Shipwatchers, who in turn supports Two Guys Talking Ship. We are also on Twix. Shout out Amy Lawrence, Instagram, Reddit, Threads. We're all over the place on the social, so check us out.
And most recently, iHeartRadio.
Nice.
So that's kind of cool to be on that platform. And again, like what we talked at the top of the hour, we do also have a website now, so we'll be getting some of this information out there for viewers to be able to have a place to go and take a look. So
right, and if you'd like to support the Shipwatchers directly, we do have a Patreon account. So you can become a member for $5 a month, and then you get some news before it comes out on the group, before it comes out on the podcast. And we do have several subscribers, so we really appreciate that. It helps to offset banking costs, website editing, hosting costs, all that stuff. And we even know, like, the local industries here at the port actually use our website, right? So, but we are providing it. So if you'd like to help out with that, that would be great.
Sure, absolutely. All right, so there are some things coming up this week. Take a look out for the next episode. We'll have an anchor alert with some breaking news coming out next weekend. So
sounds good.
All right, ready to count this one off?
Let's do it.
3, 2, 1.
Happy Shipwatching. All right, everybody. Hope you enjoyed the episode, and we'll see you soon.